He wasn't hiding. He was waiting to die. When Sarah found the neighborhood stray, the one everyone called Bruiser, curled under her back porch during a violent thunderstorm, she assumed he was just seeking shelter from the downpour. But when she reached out a trembling hand, he didn't hiss. He didn't bolt. He just looked at her with eyes swimming in panic and let out a sound she had never heard a cat make before. It wasn't a meow. It was a low, guttural groan of pure agonizing distress. Whatever you think you know about the aloof, independent, street-smart male cat, forget it. In that moment, under the rain-slicked wood, Bruiser was about to teach Sarah the most terrifying and important lesson of her life about the secret world of male cats. Welcome back. Today, we're peeling back the layers on one of the most misunderstood creatures in our homes and on our streets, the male cat. We often categorize them into two boxes, the cuddly, dopey house cat or the scarred, aggressive alley tom. But the truth about their biology, their psychology, and their emotional needs is far more complex and, frankly, far more fascinating than the stereotypes. We're going to use the story of Bruiser, the tabby under the porch, to explore 5 critical facts about male cats that many owners, even experienced ones, completely miss. These are the facts that explain their bizarre behaviors, the facts that debunk the myths, and, as you saw in the opening, the facts that can literally save their lives. Before that rainy night, Sarah had seen Bruiser around for months. He was intimidating. He looked like a prize fighter, thick neck, broad shoulders, and a massive wide head that made him look permanently grumpy. Most people see a cat like that and think, that's a mean cat. But this is our first major misunderstanding. That tough guy look is actually biology doing its job. Those prominent cheeks, often called stud jowls, aren't fat. They are specialized skin and cartilage that develop in unneutered male cats due to testosterone. Think of it as biological armor. In the wild or in the alley, territorial disputes involve face-to-face combat and neck biting. Those jowls are nature's way of protecting vital areas, like the jugular vein and the eyes during a fight. When we look at a tomcat and see aggression, we're often just seeing armor. He's built for a world that is incredibly hostile to him. Sarah mentioned that she'd only see Bruiser maybe once every 3 or 4 days. He'd appear, eat ravenously from the bowl she left out, and then vanish. She assumed he had another family, or maybe he just liked the freedom. This brings us to a critical psychological difference between intact males and their neutered counterparts, the drive to roam. An intact male cat's territory isn't a backyard. It's acres. It can span miles. They are biologically wired to patrol vast areas to find mates and defend against rivals. This isn't a lifestyle choice. It's a hormonal imperative that is almost impossible for them to resist. But this drive is dangerous. The life expectancy of a free-roaming, intact male cat is tragically short, often less than 5 years. They face cars, predators, disease spread through fighting, and the constant stress of high-alert survival. Bruiser wasn't free. He was a slave to his testosterone, running a gauntlet every single night just to survive. If you're finding this insight into animal behavior helpful, please take a second to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into your pet's psychology. Back to that stormy night under the porch. Sarah rushed Bruiser to the emergency vet because he cried out every time she touched his abdomen. The vet took one look at the rigid, terrified cat, felt his bladder, and immediately rushed him to the back. Sarah was left in the waiting room, bewildered. There was no blood, no broken bones. What was happening? What Sarah was witnessing is the single most critical health fact every male cat guardian needs to know. It is a life and death discrepancy in anatomy. Bruiser had a urethral obstruction, a blockage. Here is the science. The male cat's urethra, the tube that carries urine from the bladder out of the body, is very long and extremely narrow, especially towards the end. It is shockingly easy for this narrow tube to become blocked by tiny bladder stones, crystals, or even a plug of mucus caused by stress-induced inflammation. When this happens, urine cannot escape. The bladder fills to agonizing proportions. Toxins that the kidneys usually filter out begin to back up into the bloodstream. It is incredibly painful, and without immediate medical intervention, the bladder can rupture, or the cat will die from toxic shock within 24 to 48 hours. The tragedy is that humans often misinterpret the warning signs until it's too late. A male cat with a blockage will often visit the litter box repeatedly. He'll strain and hunch. Many owners see this and think, "Oh, he's constipated." Or because of the pain, he might associate the litter box with agony and try to urinate elsewhere in a bathtub, on a cool tile floor, or on your laundry trying to squeeze out just a few drops. Owners often see this as a behavioral problem, or him being spiteful. Bruiser wasn't constipated, and if he had peed on Sarah's rug that day, it wouldn't have been spite. It would have been a desperate cry for help. Under that porch, he was in the final stages of toxic shock. The vet managed to unblock Bruiser just in time. They had to catheterize him and flush his bladder. He spent 3 days in the hospital on IV fluids to save his kidneys. When Sarah finally brought him home, he wasn't just Bruiser the alley cat anymore. He was neutered, he was recovering, and he was now unexpectedly an indoor cat. And this is where the real challenge began. You cannot take a cat who has spent his life patrolling miles of territory, drop him into a 10x10 bedroom, and expect him to be grateful instantly. Bruiser was terrified. The silence of the indoors was alien to him. And a few days in, Sarah encountered the behavior that makes so many people give up on male cats. Sarah walked in to find Bruiser backing up to the newly painted wall. His tail was vibrating like a rattlesnake, and he sprayed a pungent jet of urine right onto the baseboard. Sarah was devastated. She had just spent thousands saving his life, and this was the thanks she got? She thought, "He's dirty. He can't be saved. He's just a wild animal marking his territory." This is perhaps the biggest behavioral misunderstanding regarding male cats. Spraying is not peeing. When a cat squats to pee, they are emptying their bladder. It's a physiological function. When a cat stands and sprays, it is a communication function. Spraying is a way of leaving a scent marker that says, "I was here," or "This is mine." But, and this is crucial, it is often triggered by deep anxiety and insecurity. Bruiser was in a strange new world. He smelled Sarah, the dog, the cleaning products, but he didn't smell himself. By spraying, he was desperately trying to make this terrifying prison smell familiar. He was trying to surround himself with his own scent to calm his panic. We assume it's dominance. Usually, it's just fear. If you've ever dealt with a spraying cat, you know the frustration. It smells terrible, and it feels personal. But if we react with anger or punishment, we only increase the cat's anxiety, which makes them feel the need to spray more. Hit the like button if you're learning something new about cat behavior. Sarah, to her immense credit, didn't throw him back outside. She called a behaviorist who explained the anxiety behind the spraying. Sarah started using synthetic pheromone diffusers to help calm him. More importantly, she stopped trying to force interaction. She just existed in the room with him, letting him learn that her presence didn't mean a threat. It took weeks. Weeks of Sarah sitting on the floor, ignoring him, letting him watch her. And then, the shift happened. There is a pervasive myth that female cats are the affectionate ones, and male cats are aloof and independent. Behaviorists and longtime cat guardians often find the exact opposite is true, especially once a male is neutered. Once the testosterone is gone and the drive to mate and fight dissipates, many male cats undergo a profound personality shift. The biological armor drops. Studies on feral cat colonies show something interesting. While females form tight, matriarchal groups usually related to raising kittens, the males exist on the periphery. But when males do form bonds, either with other cats or humans, they are often incredibly intense, without the complication of maternal instincts getting in the way. Neutered males often become what we call Velcro cats. They don't just tolerate affection, they crave it, with an almost desperate intensity. They are the aggressive cuddlers, the ones who headbutt you so hard it hurts, the ones who need to be touching you at all times. It happened on a Tuesday evening. Sarah was reading. Bruiser, now fully recovered physically, padded silently across the room. He stopped inches from her arm. He sniffed her sweater. And then he leaned in and gave her a solid, forceful headbutt against her bicep. It was the first time he had initiated contact that wasn't based on fear or food. That tough, scarred warrior, the one who looked like he could take down a raccoon, just wanted his cheeks scratched. The bruiser exterior melted away. Sarah renamed him Leo. Leo's transformation wasn't magic. It was the result of removing the biological pressures that were drowning out his true personality, and then offering him safety and patience. Which leads us to the final, perhaps most nuanced fact about male cats: the burden of stoicism. Cats are notoriously bad at showing pain. As a predatory species that is also prey to larger animals, showing weakness is a death sentence in the wild. Male cats, conditioned by evolution to be solitary defenders of territory, are the masters of this stoicism. When Leo was dying under that porch, he didn't scream until the very end. For days prior, he was likely in agony, but he hid it. He suffered in silence because his instincts told him that to cry out was to invite danger. We often mistake a male cat's quietness for contentment. We assume if they aren't complaining, they are fine. This is why knowing their baseline behavior is so critical. A male cat who suddenly becomes extra quiet, or stops greeting you at the door, or sleeps in a closet instead of on the bed, may be screaming for help on the inside. We have to be their interpreters. We have to look past the armor and the stoicism to see the vulnerability underneath. Today, Leo is unrecognizable from the rain-soaked creature Sarah found. He is a 15-pound mush who drools when you rub his ears. He still has those big jowls, a reminder of his past life, but now they're just for show. Sarah saved his life twice. First, by rushing him to the vet when his body was failing. And second, by having the patience to understand his mind when his instincts were screaming at him to be afraid. The male cat is a complex paradox. He is built for battle, yet often desperate for connection. He is incredibly resilient, yet susceptible to a tiny anatomical quirk that can kill him in days. He wears armor on the outside, but often carries deep anxiety on the inside. When we stop judging them by human standards of behavior, when we stop seeing aggression instead of fear, or spite instead of medical distress, we open the door to some of the deepest, most rewarding bonds we can have with an animal. They don't want us to know they're vulnerable. It's their deepest instinct to hide it. But it's our greatest responsibility to see it anyway. Thanks for watching. If you have a male cat story, a tough guy who turned into a marshmallow, or a medical scare you learned from, please share it in the comments below. Your story might help someone else spot the signs before it's too late. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video to support more educational content like this. See you next time.